they think you're different, man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro, don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? I don't give a damn if you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move, I'm gonna make it soon, and I'll do it cause it's what I wanna fucking do. Cause all these opinions and all these positions, they come in millions, they blocking your vision. But no, you can't listen, that shit is all fiction. Cause you hold the power as long as you're dreaming. There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Aren't you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Aren't you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back? Or will you fucking fight back? You ain't never ever gonna break it. You can never beat them and they're better than you face it. Thinking that they give a damn, you're not thinking straight, kid. No, they don't give a damn, you got what I'm saying? I'm not fucking playing, I'll give it to you straight, man. There's too many others and you're not that great, man. Stop what you're saying, stop what you're making. Everybody here knows that you just faking. Nah, I don't wanna hear it anymore, I don't wanna hear it anymore. All these fucking thoughts, they are not what I need anymore. I'm about to shut the motherfucking door on all you poor ass haters with your heads in the clouds, talking out loud so proud. You better shut your goddamn mouth before I do more, speak out. It's about to head south. You're never gonna make it.
That's the only line of this song I don't like. Anyway.
Maybe you can fake it.
Yeah, it's fine. Doesn't matter. How y'all doing? All right, we are on. We are live. We are going to go. We are doing Grifters tonight. I guess I can only mean one man. One. So, I'm going to be very blunt. I got on Twitter today and I called Kevin Bertuzzi a sophist. That man angers me to no end. He's an embarrassment. So we're going to do a little bit around the Rouser. We're going to do a little bit of a few other channels. And we're going to have some fun tonight. So I got to say this about, well, let's just do the video. Let's at least watch so you know what I'm talking about. Here we go.
This morning I came across this tweet from Cameron Bertuzzi of Capturing Christianity, where he declares that Alex O'Connor is not a philosopher. That seemed to me to be a rather off-putting and perplexing tweet for a couple different reasons. First of all, it certainly seems like Alex O'Connor would qualify by any broadly reasonable definition of philosopher. Not to say the least, he has a degree in philosophy from Oxford University, one of the world's leading research universities, and he spends his life talking about philosophical issues and arguments. That would certainly seem to make him a philosopher. And I would just say that there's something a little off-putting about the gatekeeping, about such a broad identity as philosopher, that if one person wants to dispute whether another person is a philosopher at all, that's something I am inclined to question. Now, it's a different thing to say, I don't think this person's a good philosopher. Fair enough, you can have your opinion. But to gatekeep whether that person even qualifies for the identity of a philosopher, I think is itself
And we watched this on Overthink podcast before, where Overthink made it very clear that this was not an okay judgment. They define what a philosopher was, what a philosopher isn't, and what philosophy is, and what qualifies one as a philosopher, and what qualifies something to be philosophy. So Cameron Bertuzzi, just to be very clear, I think he's a grifter. I think he's a joke. I think he's an embarrassment to Catholics worldwide. I'm not okay with him doing what he's doing on YouTube in the name of Catholicism. I really want him to drop the Capturing Christianity moniker. I want him to stop calling himself a Catholic online. I want to be very clear. I don't want him to stop being a Catholic. I want him to keep being a Catholic. But I don't want him to have anything to do with the title of Catholic. Just to be very clear, on my channel, I used to have a series called Catholic Reads the Quran. There's like three major reasons why I stopped that series. One, I finished reading the Quran, and I didn't want this to become an Islamic polemicist channel toward Islam. I have friends that are Muslim, and I didn't feel like doing that. Two, I uh, I was having to deal with the Dawa people, and that became very unfun. And three, as a Catholic, you can't call yourself Catholic openly without the bishop's permission. Otherwise, you're speaking for the church. Like, you can identify as a Catholic, that's fine. But to call something a Catholic channel or anything else, you need the bishop's permission. So I didn't have the bishop's permission to be doing what I was doing at that time. So I stopped doing it once I learned that rule. That's important. Cameron is not speaking for a bishop. He's not speaking for a pope. He's not speaking for a priest. In fact, this is a problem with a lot of modern Catholic apologetics, is that they're not speaking officially, but they'll use monikers and authoritative wording as if they are. That's why I love Jimmy Akin, because he always acknowledges that. And it's weird because Jimmy Akin and this guy are in business together, and yet this guy still does this kind of stuff.
More questionable enterprise. The good thing, though, about Cameron's rather off-putting and perplexing tweet is it invites us to have a conversation about what it means to be a philosopher. So one could define philosopher as a person who, let's say, has a terminal degree in a discipline. So you don't qualify as a philosopher until you have a PhD.
I don't agree with that at all, because I have an associate's and I've been doing philosophy since I was 15, and I am 100% a philosopher. So, yeah. Cameron, seriously, go fuck yourself.
But that seems to me to be very arbitrary. I mean, for example, like how many philosophers through the history of philosophy would not qualify as philosophers by that definition?
Yeah.
Or to think you to be a philosopher, you have to make a living at the discipline. Well, ironically, that sounds maybe close.
Which is funny because as a professional tutor who taught philosophy to masters and graduate students, I definitely qualified for that at one point. But I would say that's more sophistry than actual philosophy. And the same thing with apologetics. If you're using apologetics to make money, that's simony, by the way. You cannot buy into the faith. So, yeah, I disagree with Cameron's project 100% on multiple levels.
Closer to sophistry than to philosophy, because there are many people who believe
He's a sophist, he's a grifter, and he's a con artist.
that to make money thinking in terms of philosophy, doing philosophy, make money at it is closer to
And
sophistry,
if
which
con
is
artist is too aggressive, then he's a con man, a confidence man.
in fact contrary to the spirit of philosophy.
He's no better than Donald Trump.
Uh, I've always liked Alvin Plantinga's definition of philosophy. Now, the interesting thing is Alvin Plantinga is one of the premier analytic philosophers of the late 20th and early 21st century, someone who made seminal contributions in the philosophy of religion, metaphysics, and epistemology. And he had a wonderfully egalitarian, simple definition where he said philosophy is just thinking hard. For the most part, I'm pretty sympathetic with that view. You become a philosopher when you start thinking
You
hard.
know, and again, I've said this about Randall Rouser before. When I started and I started talking about religion, Randall Rouser was one of the first people to pop up on my feed, and guess from the algorithm. And I didn't like anything he was saying. The longer I've been doing this, and I've now been on YouTube for 11 years, the more I respect Randall Rouser and the less I respect Cameron Bertuzzi.
Hard. I would want to add something, however, one other piece. To be a, because you can think hard about all sorts of things. Like you could think hard about how to build an engine. How am I going to build or rebuild this engine in the motorcycle that I'm working on in my
By
garage?
the way, my father used to have. Oh wow, that's a terrible face. That is great. If I turn this into a video later on in the future, and not just a live stream, I'm using that image. That's just great. My dad used to love the book Motorcycle Maintenance and the Art of Zen. He loved that book. He swore by that book. Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of funny that Randall Rouser hits on that.
Thinking hard about it. Or you could be thinking hard about how am I going to get that couch from the main floor to the second floor up that spiral staircase? And you think really hard about how to get that couch up the stairs. You're not doing philosophy when you're thinking hard about getting the couch up the stairs or rebuilding the motorcycle engine. Because even though you're thinking hard, something more is required. And something more that I think is required for this to qualify as philosophy is what you are thinking hard about. Namely, what I would broadly call liminal issues, foundational issues.
So I disagree with Randall Rouser here just a little bit. I would say the love of wisdom is what makes you a philosopher. Philosophia. A lover of philosophy. A lover of Sophia. A lover of wisdom. If you love wisdom, you study wisdom, you teach wisdom, you pursue wisdom. If wisdom is your all consuming thought, it's your profession, it's your passion, it's your personal project, it's what you're trying to do, then yeah, you're a philosopher. Philosophy is just the love of wisdom. So,
issues. Questions like, what is the nature of reality? What is the nature of knowledge? What is the nature of, what does it mean to be human? What is the good? Does God exist? Those liminal questions. So, for example, if somebody says, what time is it? They haven't asked a philosophical question. But if they ask, what is time? That's a philosophical question, because now you're getting into liminal questions. So that to do philosophy and thus to be a philosopher, because I think it's fair to say, if you are doing philosophy, you are a philosopher.
agreed.
Irrespective of whether you have a terminal degree, irrespective of whether
Right. You don't need a degree to be a philosopher. Anyone who tells you you need a degree to be a philosopher is lying to you and is an a-hole. You don't need a degree to be a philosopher. Just start asking the hard questions and start doing the research. Now, getting a degree helps, but it's not necessary.
you make any money at it. If you're doing it, you are that thing. And so to be a philosopher is to think hard about liminal questions. And I think Alex O'Connor thinks hard about liminal
Yeah.
questions. So I think he's a philosopher. Maybe one last thing. There are different types of philosophers. There are some philosophers
Ethicists.
who are new
Legalists.
novel thinkers and they're exploring new
Existentialist.
ideas. There are philosophers who are popularizers and they introduce philosophical questions to a broader population. Some people wear both hats. And I don't think, again, that we should gatekeep about which type of philosopher is better. Do you have a special interest in thinking really hard and exploring novel new questions that nobody's thought about before?
Theology. Philosophy of religion.
Or do you want to bring liminal questions and thinking hard
Philosophy of science.
about them to the broader population? Those are all different ways of doing philosophy, and you don't have to say one of them is better than the other. So let's not gatekeep. If you want to think hard about liminal questions, you are a philosopher.
I really do like that guy. All right, let's go into the next video. That's a good video, by the way. We might come back to that in a little bit. You know what? We'll do just a tab of that while I look for the other one.
Intellectualism, the intellectualization of problematizer content, a lot of these video essays, I think it's often a convenient excuse, the necessary cosplay to dress something up, to call thing bad whilst gaining virtue in the process. Which I realise might sound cynical. I also realise that sometimes video essayists will just say the quiet part out loud.
But you know me, my haters know it very well. I can't enjoy anything. I have to find something wrong about every single thing. I mean, have you heard about this condition? I was told it's called critical thinking.
There is a difference between critical thinking and critical theory, and as we went over last time, one of them is genuinely actually hard and...
Agreed. Critical thinking. All right, now, I want to show you something. No. Don't play the video. I don't want the video to be played. How do I stop that?
This guy.
How do I stop that? I don't want the video to be played.
Could the Antichrist...
Stop. Go back. Do not play. How do I stop it from playing? How do I stop autoplay? There we go. Thank you. Okay. So, I want you to look at this. It says, "This is the Antichrist?" Question mark. Christians are worried. Or worried? Worried. I have a speech impediment. Fuck it. Look at the face. Okay? Ooh, clickbaity. The Antichrist? Question mark. You're a professional Catholic apologist. What the fuck are you doing, dude? I'm not a Catholic apologist. I'm an anti-apologetics channel. And I'm a defunct anti-apologetics channel. I only got a few people watching me right now. What the hell are you doing, homie? What is this? What are you doing? This is the definition of grifting. It's the definition of clickbait. I say you meet the definition of sophistry. What is wrong with you, man? Is money more important to you than integrity? Is viewership more important to you than your soul? Are the souls of the people you're misleading? Why would you do this? Like, in what world do you think this is appropriate Christian content and appropriate apologetical outreach? I get that AP's doing it. Fine. Let AP do it. He's not speaking as a Christian. Now, if he ever becomes a Christian apologist, then we can deal with that. But he was a polemicist, an anti-theist, and he is someone who is arguing against Islam. Now, he may evolve into a Christian channel, and when that day comes, he needs to stop doing the clickbaity stuff. But right now, he's kind of in between a drama channel and a Christian channel, which is fine. And if you want to do that, drop the Christian from your name. Hey, Thomas, how you doing, my friend? Cameron, you are a bad example. You're just a bad example. You're going to lead people straight to hell, dude. I'll admit, I'm a sinner. I'm wicked. I do bad shit all the time. But I'm also not a Christian apologist. And I'm not claiming to be an example of how to be Catholic. Like, I'm seriously not. My channel could do a lot better if I simply dove straight in and started talking about Catholic stuff and how to be Catholic and why Catholicism is true and how great it is. I mean, I flavor that stuff in, but like Metatron, that's not the focus of my channel. Unlike Metatron, I'm not very popular. Maybe that's algorithmic. Maybe it's from a previous shadow ban because I've been shadow banned multiple times. Who knows? But you have somehow caught the good side of the algorithm. You somehow got to get famous as a Protestant and then switched over to Catholicism and doubled your outreach. And you're doing this crappy evangelical bullshit. You are no better than Benny Hinn. You're no better than, oh, what's that guy's name? The stupid guy from Houston who does the evangelization thing. You're no better than the prosperity gospel people, man. What are you doing? Examine yourself. To thy own self be true. Know thyself. You do not know yourself. You're claiming to be a Catholic while acting like the worst of Protestant prosperity gospel preachers. Let's watch just a little bit of this, shall we?
Could the Antichrist be walking among us right now? So get this.
No.
Okay, there's this guy.
No.
He's born to an Egyptian father and an American mother. He was raised in the States. He's now
No, the Antichrist is not walking amongst us right now because the Antichrist isn't real. How about that? How about we're all Antichrist when we act against Christ?
living in England.
How about
but he
don't feed into some crazy person's scam to steal money and influence from people?
claims that he's the true successor to both Jesus and Muhammad somehow. Yes, you heard that correctly. He says that he's the rightful pope He's the new Mahdi, and Christians on X are literally calling him the Antichrist. Just listen to
Well, they're suckers and they're idiots.
how he describes himself.
I am Abdullah, the successor of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam.
I am. Alpha Centaurian. I'm the successor of Optimus Prime and Flint from G.I. Joe.
Successor of the Comforter Ahmed, the successor of Simon Peter, the successor of
The successor of Connor McLeod. The successor of Duncan McLeod.
Muhammad, the successor of Jesus Christ. I am the true and legitimate Pope. I am the proof upon the
I am the Mohadib.
Christians. I am the son of the Muslims through my father, and the son of the Christians and the Jews through my mother.
I'm also the son of the Jews through my father, and I'm the son of the Native Americans through my mother.
The son of the East
And there's a
through
little
my
French in
father,
there.
and the son of the West through my mother.
Pretty wild.
Pretty boring stuff. Very monotone. About as monotone as I am. I wouldn't believe it.
Wild, right? So in this video, we're going to figure out exactly who this guy is. I'm going to show you guys his background, unpack the crazy claims that he's making, and at the end, I'm going to tell you whether or not the Christians on X might actually be onto something with the whole
Why? Why? Why do this?
Antichrist thing. So trust me, this one is going to be an absolute...
This is going to be really boring, a lot of bullshit, and kind of stupid. Let's have fun. And for those playing at home who are watching this tomorrow, again, I am not a Christian. This is not a Christian channel. I'm a Christian. I'm a Catholic, but this is not a Christian channel in any kind of way. I am not an apologist. This is a channel that has been dedicated to anti-apologetics. If you're looking for guidance, go somewhere else. We're here to make fun of an idiot, suckering idiots into giving him money. We mean this idiot, by the way, not this idiot. This idiot is not that idiot. That idiot, right there.
wild ride. Real quick, if you're new here, I am Cameron Bertuzzi. I run Capturing Christianity, where we explore deep theological questions and evaluate bold.
He never. Yeah, that's also if he said bullshit, but he's just going to say bold. He does not analyze deep theological questions. I haven't seen him do that in years.
Claims like the ones that we're discussing today. My goal here is simple: to expose you to the intellectual side.
My goal here is simple: is to steal your money and make it my money, so that way I can keep living a lifestyle that is way too extravagant as a Christian apologist. If you read the Didache, you'll see that what I'm doing is strictly written against by the first Christians who I'm claiming to follow. But enjoy.
Of Christian belief. If you see value in this type of content, you can support my work directly over at capturingchristianity.com/donate. All right, let's go ahead.
The grift begins.
And jump in to unraveling this very, very, very bizarre story. All right, so who is this
Who is Cameron Bertuzzi? Is he the devil's plaything?
guy? Well, his name is Abdullah Hashem, though he's now better known as Abba al-Sadiq, meaning father of the truthful. He was born in 1983. Abdullah comes from an interesting cultural mix. His dad's Egyptian and his mom's American.
Why is that interest? Are you a little racist? Bigoted? Islamophobic?
States. Abdullah studied comparative religious studies at Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis. So right from the start, Abdullah was into pretty fringe stuff like really early on. He made documentaries exploring these really weird esoteric ideas.
You mean he started a cult?
about end times prophecies with titles like The Anti.
Unlike you, who starts a Patreon to get people to donate to you, to follow you, to go with your opinions and worship like you and understand God in the way that you understand God. No, I don't see any similarities. I don't know what we're talking about.
Antichrist Dajjal is a reptilian shapeshifter. Yes,
Reptilian shapeshifters.
that's a real title. And another popular series called The Arrivals, which racked up millions of views online. But the real turning point for this guy came in 2008 when he moved to Cairo, Egypt, just in time to get involved with the 2011 Egyptian revolution. That was actually the year I got married. So Abdullah describes his experiences vividly. You're a divinely guided leader expected to establish a kingdom of justice at the end of times. Okay, Abdullah became deeply convinced that Ahmed al-Hassan was the real deal, eventually announcing himself as Ahmed's appointed successor in 2015, taking on titles such as the Second Mahdi and the Riser of the Family of Muhammad. Now, fast forward to today, and Abdullah, or Abba al-Sadiq, as he's now called, has formally established a religious group called the Ahmadi Religion of Peace and Light. They're a relatively small but international movement with followers spread across 40 different countries. It criticizes popular elections and democratic processes, arguing that true leaders are divinely chosen by God, not by popular vote. He writes this, quote,
Well, as a Catholic, you also believe that. So really, what's the problem? What? It's true.
the choice of the people is irrelevant when it comes to a leader. In fact, it is strictly prohibited.
P.S. Lewis, I heard the exact same thing. A little fairy flew up to me, whispered in my ear, and said, Alex O'Connor is not a real philosopher. It was a cute fairy. Wore a good dress.
Men can judge only by the apparent, while God is capable of choosing a leader by their inside or by their heart, by their inside. So in Abdullah's view, divine leadership is not a metaphor.
Well, you believe God can judge. God is the only one who can judge because he's the only one who can know someone's heart. So what do you mean about?
Okay, it's literal and clearly spelled out in prophetic wills. And he explicitly claims that he's been directly appointed by God himself through the written.
I wonder if he did a Bayesian analysis to decide whether or not he was a cult leader or not. I bet you the Bayesian analysis said he wasn't.
Will of Muhammad, which according to Abdullah clearly identifies him by name. So we have an idea now of who Abdullah Hashem is. He's a controversial, self-proclaimed, divinely appointed figure with a growing...
For those watching at home, if you're an aspiring philosopher, sophist, grifter, apologist, don't do this. Just don't. You'll be much happier for it. Can I recommend, if you want a non-grifting religious channel, hold on, I want you to watch this channel. This is very good stuff here. Hold on. Christ Defender. She looks a little butch, but that's okay. She's really awesome, has a great attitude, and actually knows her stuff, and she isn't grifting for money. So go watch her. And there's another girl. I don't see her right now. If I spot her on my playlist, I'll show you later.
Global following. Next, we're going to unpack exactly what he's teaching about Jesus.
Oh, Lizzie Answers is back, and she's also more reliable than this douche.
Muhammad, about Peter, St. Peter, and why he thinks that he's the rightful pope. Yes, again, you heard that correctly. Now, after we look at his claims...
Yes, you heard that correctly. There are crazy people in the world who say random stuff to sucker people. This is shocking to you because you're an infant and you don't know any better.
We're going to compare them with what the Bible actually says about the Antichrist, and then I'll tell you whether I think this guy...
Dan?
actually fits the bill. Okay, and trust me, you want to stick around because his claims only get more bizarre and dangerous, actually, from here. Let's dive directly into his theology, and you guys got to...
They only get more dangerous, so let's spread that to everybody. By the way, I don't think they're dangerous, so I'm going to spread it to everybody. But this guy thinks they're dangerous, and he's going to spread it to everybody. Guess who's being irresponsible in this scenario?
To brace yourselves because Abba al-Sadiq's claims are nothing short of extraordinary. That's an understatement. And just like quick heads up, so right now I'm just laying out his beliefs for you guys, but you got to keep watching because I'm about to show you exactly why these ideas...
You got to keep watching. There's a video that we're going to watch of Cameron's right now. It's going to be the next video we're going to watch, where he's just keeps hopping. Oh, here's the big point. Oh, and he never gets to the big point.
Fall apart. So first off, Abba al-Sadiq doesn't just claim that he's a religious leader. Okay, he claims that he's the Mahdi, a prophesied Islamic Messiah.
Yeah, homie. The Mahdi.
Who, according to Islamic teachings, is supposed to bring justice.
You know, like Dune.
At the end of days. But that is not the craziest part. Okay, he's going way beyond
Dune is not the craziest part.
Islamic tradition and boldly stepping into Christian territory, claiming that he's also the true successor of the Apostle Peter and therefore the rightful
word
Pope. So in his own words from his manifesto, he says this, quote, "We are to the Muslim nation what the Pope is to Catholics, and what the Dalai Lama is to Tibetan Buddhists, and what the Messiah is to the Jews. The current Pope is illegitimate, and the only true successors of the prophets and messengers are Abdullah, Ahmed, and Al-"
So he agrees with Protestants. Cool.
Mahdi. In other words, Abba al-Sadiq believes that he was explicitly named in a prophetic chain that stretches from Jesus to Muhammad, and then to his mentor, Ahmed al-Hassan, and then finally to himself.
That's a good thing no Christians do that. Could you imagine if there were people who got on a stage in front of a podium and said something like, God has personally spoken to me and told me to help you. And the best way to do that is by donations. If you simply plant a seed today, you will find that you will be rewarded in the future. Yes, if you can simply teeth, your divine blessing will come to you. In fact, if you could actually help this channel, and if you like this kind of content and you don't want to see someone be buried in the algorithm, because even though I'm on everyone's channel, somehow I'm being blocked. If you could please hit donate so that way you could help this channel, me and my family would appreciate that a lot, especially my sick father who has Alzheimer's and dementia, who I take care of. And for one whole year, I had absolutely no help or aid. But you, Cameron, who are successful, yes, ask for help to keep your $1 million home. Yeah, that's good. That's real Christian of you.
He argues that explicitly here. He says,
Jesus alayhi salam appointed his successor in his lifetime, and none has the right to appoint but him. He appointed Simon Peter.
This is bad graphics, bad everything.
And he said, and I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. I will give you...
It's the interregnum. BS. It's just the interregnum. And also it's Christ, because Christ is in charge of the Catholic Church.
The keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound
The Pope is just a mouthpiece.
in heaven, and whatever
And
you
he's the servant of servants.
loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. So Jesus alayhi salam
And there's also the magisterium, and the cardinals, and the bishops.
named the first of his successors, and he named the last as well.
Also, as a Catholic, I can technically be elected Pope. There's no requirement to be Pope except that you're male and a baptized Catholic. I'm a baptized Catholic and I'm male. Plus, I was born into Catholicism. Just saying, BS, you could be talking to the next Pope. You don't know.
The Comforter. He said, therefore I'm sending you prophets and sages
We'll
and
find out in 30 days.
teachers. Some of them you will kill and crucify, others you will flog in your synagogues and pursue from town to town. He also said, because of this, God in his wisdom said, I will, and the father of mankind, the true Pope.
so according to Abba al-Sadiq, Muhammad wasn't just a prophet. He was literally one of the popes. After
Your presence
Hell
around the
yeah.
world
Look, if you're going to mess up things theologically, just like the Quran does, then you should go full out. Let's make Muhammad a Pope.
walls of Jericho, and the sounds of their horns caused the mighty walls to collapse.
Yeah, so he claims that the death of Pope Francis was literally caused by his own followers' protests and prayers. To sum it up very clearly, Abba al-Sadiq believes at least 4 things. He's the Mahdi, an end times Islamic figure prophesied to restore justice. Number 2, He's the rightful pope, having inherited authority directly from Peter through Muhammad somehow.
I mean, genetically speaking, that would make Muhammad a descendant of Peter. That's kind of interesting.
3, the current papacy, especially now after Pope Francis' death, is illegitimate and divinely rejected.
Well, there's no current page. There's no current papacy because the Pope's dead. Give it 20 days.
And then 4, he's here to establish a global state ruled directly by God through him, fulfilling both Christian and Islamic end times prophecies. And again, these are...
So he's writing a bad B script for a 1990s sci-fi show using 1990s cinematography. Yeah, we should all be scared. A douchebag is doing a douchebag thing. Or we make fun of him, we ignore him, and we make sure to send investigators to make sure that his cult isn't too powerful, and we arrest him and we let legal processes proceed. Or, we make a YouTube video hyping him up, acting like people are scared so we can get views. Whatever. Potato, we're not calling any kettles black today.
These are his claims, okay? They're not mine, and believe me, I'm itching to address how biblically and historically wild...
Yeah. You're itching to address something. It's been going on for 10 minutes and 45 seconds. You haven't shed jack.
These assertions are. But first, to properly evaluate whether or not he is the Antichrist or just another misguided cult leader...
We're going to appropriately evaluate if someone's the literal Antichrist. Okay, Cameron, let's do this.
We have to understand what the Bible actually says about the Antichrist.
I know that Jimmy Akin helps him, but I got a feeling. I got a feeling Jimmy Akin didn't help him with the script. I got a feeling. I could be wrong. There could be some good stuff here. Maybe we're going to get some good stuff 10 minutes and 56 seconds in. I don't know. I could be wrong. Let's find out.
First, let's get clear on the terminology. Okay, the word Antichrist comes from 2 Greek words, anti meaning in place of, or again.
2 Greek words, anti, that famous Greek word that only exists in Greece that I need to explain because they definitely don't have this in English, and no one's ever read a comic book or ever needed some kind of anti-coagulant that would be like anti-venom. Nah, there's no famous comic book character with that name. It was in a big video game that was really popular last year. Movie.
And Christos, meaning Messiah or appointed one.
Is he really explaining Christ to Christians? He's explaining the word Christ to Christians. I heard from a reputable source that Alex O'Connor is the Antichrist. I've heard from a reputable source that I'm Satan. So, maybe me and Alex will talk to each other sometime. That could be interesting.
So the Antichrist isn't just some evil...
I've also been called God before, but I'm kind of iffy on that one.
Figure, okay? He's someone who explicitly claims or attempts to replace Christ, positioning himself as the ultimate authority over humanity. The Apostle John gives us some key...
Is that what the Bible says? Or is that what fiction says? And then you're saying that the Bible says it, and then you're going to misinterpret something in the Bible. So you can have your cake and eat it too. Because you got to debunk this before the 18-minute mark.
In 1 John 2:22, where it says this, quote, "Who is the liar but he who denies that Jesus is the Christ? This is the Antichrist, he who denies the Father and the Son."
But it's saying that anyone who denies Christ is an Antichrist, not a single specific person. Anyone. Antichristos. Antichrist with an S.
The Antichrist
Pendejo.
explicitly denies core Christian teachings, especially about Jesus and his unique relationship with the Father. Then in 2 Thessalonians 2, 3
Do
through 4,
not make yourself Antichrist. Not. Watch out for this homie, the Antichrist, you know, like Napoleon. What are you going to do? You're going to make you going to make Nostradamus a Catholic saint now? A prophetess? A propheter. He's profiting. Is that prophet with a P or with a PH, buddy?
the Apostle Paul describes the Antichrist as the, quote, man of lawlessness, who openly sets himself up as
Stop it.
divine. Let no one deceive you in any way, for that day will not come unless the rebellion comes first, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself against every so-called God or object of worship, so that he takes his seat in the temple of God, proclaiming himself to be God. Now think clearly about what Paul is saying here. Okay, this figure, this Antichrist figure, doesn't just oppose Christ. He claims divine authority. He redefines worship, and he positions himself.
That's not what it says about the Antichrist. You have all of this wrong, Cameron. It's not that those words aren't in the Bible, but they're saying don't make yourselves Antichrist. Not. Okay. You know what? Whatever.
As God's appointed ruler over everyone, and not to mention, he claims to be God himself. But, and this is crucial, the Antichrist of Scripture is also marked by deception and counterfeit miracles. Okay, Paul writes in 2 Thessalonians 2, 9 through 10. The coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan with all power and false signs and wonders.
So, I'm only pointing this out because you didn't do the work. How are you going to connect the Antichrist to the lawless one? Can you do that? Can you do the the connection's there. You're not wrong, but can you make the connection? Can you do that in the video? That's
and with all wicked deception. So the biblical Antichrist is not just someone making these really bold theological claims. He's someone whose
biblical Antichrist
power is supernatural and deceptive, able to convince masses through false miracles and signs. Could Abba al-Sadiq actually fit this profile? Well, he definitely claims miraculous events. Remember, he claims that the death of Pope Francis was directly caused by his followers chanting and protesting. He said this openly opposes central Christian doctrines. The stage is now set. We're now ready to evaluate his claims and make our determination. The
answer's no. He's not the Antichrist. Because there is no Antichrist. He could be a Antichrist. Because there are many Antichrists.
Is Abba al-Sadiq the biblical Antichrist? First, let's address the idea that Abba
Anybody remember the prophecy that there will be 3 Antichrists? That's not in the Bible, by the way.
al-Sadiq could somehow be the successor of Jesus Christ. Okay, right out of the gate, he makes a very serious mistake. Peter is not Jesus' successor. Jesus did not appoint Peter to replace him. Okay, Peter was appointed as something like the prime minister or steward of the kingdom to lead.
No one's making this mistake.
While the King Jesus is away. The distinction here is subtle, but it's very crucial. Think about it this way. The British Prime Minister isn't the successor of King Charles. He's there to sort of govern under his authority, okay? Peter's role was very similar.
Not to get too philosophical, but you could argue that metaphysically, the Prime Minister is the successor of the King, or the President is the successor of a king. You can get metaphorical with these things, allegorical. I don't know. There's some kind of book that does that. Anyway.
He ruled the church under the authority of Christ, who remains eternally king. And once you grasp that, Jesus did not appoint Peter as his successor. The claim of being Spirit, he says this clearly, but the Helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name. Muhammad was born centuries later and clearly didn't fit this description. Okay, the comfort.
But that's not the claim being made, so this is irrelevant.
So in other words, from a Christian perspective, Muhammad was a manifest heretic. You can't simultaneously reject core Christian truths and claim legitimate succession from Peter. It's logically impossible. So these foundations.
You mean like someone resurrecting from the dead? Let's refute our whole belief system accidentally.
foundational claims that Abba al-Sadiq's entire case rests on, they fall apart upon even like a casual examination.
You mean like your claims?
Now let's address the elephant in the room. The question that started this video. Could Abba al-Sadiq actually be the Antichrist?
No.
Now here's where I want to urge extreme caution to my fellow Christians.
The answer is
Every
no.
generation has eagerly tried to identify various figures as the Antichrist.
And every single one's been wrong.
Usually to be embarrassed later on. So let's slow down, let's use discernment, and be careful not to jump to...
So don't make this video. Make the video. Look, what's this? Make the video 4 minutes long. You would have been fine.
conclusions too quickly on this. Do I think that Abba al-Sadiq fits the biblical criteria for the Antichrist? No, and here's why.
So then why did you waste our time for 16 fucking minutes? All right, let's go. Let me show you the other one that really offended me. And then we'll move on. Because who cares about this guy? Okay, check this out. This is so annoying.
So you've probably heard that Rhett McLaughlin left Christianity because
And the fact that he says that the Pope is referenced in the Bible, even though he's going to say, that's not what I'm saying. That's such clickbait. That's such a lie. That's so terrible. No, Pope Francis' death is not predicted in the Bible.
became convinced that evolution was true. But that's about faith, truth, and reason. If you find value in these videos and want to support my work, you can do so by becoming a patron. About faith, truth, and reason. Change actually gives us our first real clue about what led Rhett away from Christianity. Let's watch this clip.
Our first real clue, right? That's what he just said. This is our first real clue. Okay, wait. Where is it? He plays all of this, and then wait.
He doesn't like progressive creation. He's not comfortable with it, but he starts to sense some sort of like tension. Here's something that is crucial to notice here. This discomfort with progressive creation is actually a distraction. It's easy to think that Rhett's main...
It's actually, he's going to show you your main point. No, it's actually a distraction. That wasn't the main point.
problem is that Hugh Ross's approach feels
You're a
awkward and
lying
unsatisfying,
sack
but
of
that's
shit,
not
son.
the real issue. In fact, it's entirely possible to be a fully
You're
convinced Christian and
misleading.
think progressive creation is a bit weird, or even just reject the view outright. Plenty of faithful Christians land in different places on these science faith questions with...
It is powerful clickbait. Darn, I wish he was anti. I'm disappointed. LOL. How do you feel about the Pope order prophecy? I don't believe that's a real prophecy. I think that's total nonsense. Jimmy Akin also thinks it's nonsense. But I'm sure this brilliant, sophisticated, kind of like sophist, sophisticated man will find a way to grift and make money off of it.
without their entire faith collapsing. So let me stress
Is
again,
it true?
This is not Rhett's
Could the
core
prophecy
issue.
be
It's really
real?
this-
Is it possible? 20 minutes later, of course not. It's BS. But for 20 minutes, is it? Is it true? Look at this interesting thing. Look, it predicted this. And then at this point in history, it stops being predicted. It's almost as if all the stuff that happened before the prediction is accurate. And then the stuff at the prediction is kind of close. And the stuff after the prediction is completely inaccurate. So we shouldn't take it seriously. It's almost like a man named Dan McKellen made a similar video on this recently. Nah, he's an atheist. He wouldn't do that. Oh, that's right. He's a Mormon. He wouldn't do that.
The real turning point, the thing that actually triggered his spiritual collapse, is something far deeper, far more subtle.
His real
and it's
turning
something you
point,
yourself could
what
be vulnerable
really
to if you're not careful.
triggered his...
Remember, I'm going to explain exactly how to...
And you could be at fault of this. This could be affecting you. You could be sinning right now and not even know it.
avoid falling into the same trap toward the end of the video. So stay tuned. Now here's where
It's called being gay. Wait, no, sorry. This is a different video. It's a different video. Sorry.
things get even more interesting, though. In this next clip, Rhett and Alex start talking about evolution directly. So let's roll the clip.
Evolution leads to being gay.
But yeah, I mean, the biggest problem for me that evolution poses to the Christian, and a lot of Christians today just accept evolution. They're like, yeah, sure, you know,
Right.
humans all have a common ancestor with other animals.
Right, because
Yeah.
when I was
Okay, so
I
Rhett
kind of feel like that right came from Cameron and not from Rhett.
says that this alleged problem of arbitrariness is what started him down this path of deconstruction. But let me just briefly jump in and say something really important here. Okay, yes, no one wants mom outside of the gates. However, this problem is not actually as powerful as they think. Okay, let me quickly show you why. So first, salvation is not about being biologically human. It's actually about having a rational soul made in the image of God. If anyone has a rational soul, they are capable of being saved. And then second, who's to say that animals won't be in heaven? The Bible doesn't exclude that possibility.
So, first off, he's not even answering the question, which is, did the first humans have a rational soul? Number two, even if animals do have rational souls, not all animals do. So the animals that don't still wouldn't be saved. So that doesn't actually solve your problem. You're just kicking the can down the way, hoping that people don't think about it.
So as intriguing as Alex and Rhett's point seems to be here, this whole arbitrariness thing is just yet another...
No. See, BS, this is why... By the way, you got blocked in the thing for saying that, but it showed up in the chat. This is why atheists are so stupid. You see, you misunderstood what the great, amazing Christian here was saying. See, you heard him say that evolution is fake and gay. No. Fake evolution leads to being gay. You gotta open your ears. You gotta hear. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
It's not the real reason that Rhett deconstructed. That's coming up very soon. So then let's go.
Look, not the real reason why he deconstructed. It's coming in soon. Back over here, what did he say? You got to listen to this because here's the real reason why it happened. But that wasn't the real reason. No. Here's going to be the real reason. But that wasn't the real reason. Hold on.
Soon. So then let's go a step deeper. All right. In this next clip, Rhett explains how he tried to hold on to Christianity by looking to other Christians who accept evolution. And honestly, this clip is
someone who identified as pansexual for a good majority of his sexual active life, from when I was like, I think I discovered that word when I was 13, and I stopped labeling myself that way when I was like, I don't know, 30. Just because I realized that I'm only dating women, so I was like, nah, the pansexual thing has to go away because I'm not interested in that. I just like, women with a little bit more muscle and a little bit more athletic build and, a little bit more aggressive attitude. That's what I liked, not the other thing. So, yeah, still like femininity, still like women. Turns out wasn't pan. But I self-identified that way for a long time. And yet, that's not, it's an evolutionary dead end, so that really wouldn't help with the whole evolutionary argument. Oh, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked by something that was interesting because this is boring.
Really revealing. It's going to give us another important piece of the puzzle. Let's go.
It's going to give another important piece of the puzzle.
Right, because when I didn't really buy into the progressive creationism thing, but I was so sure that evolution didn't happen. I was like,
by seeking out believers who already accept evolution, he's realizing that the issue might not be evolution itself. Other Christians handle it just fine, but something
No, that's not what he said.
deeper is clearly bothering him. I want to highlight Rhett genuinely wanted to remain a Christian. He wasn't just looking for...
How do you know that? How do you know he's not lying? Bertuzzi mustache. I'll be honest. I'm going to be really blunt. We're getting way off topic now. One of the reasons I couldn't do the bisexual thing is I absolutely hate hair. Like body hair grosses me out. Facial hair grosses me out immensely. Like just terribly so. Like I realize I'm a guy and I get a beard and I'm lazy and I don't want to shave. But like for real, like the mustache thing just grosses me out. Seriously, I can't do it. I can't do it. I just can't. I married an Asian woman, someone with no body hair. Like I don't like the hairy thing. Like the hairy thing really bothers me. All right.
for some excuse to leave. He was sincerely searching for answers from within the faith. Yet even after...
My ex-wife's probably going to be Native American because I really can't do body hair.
Reading Francis Collins, a devout Christian who fully embraces evolution, it wasn't enough. Rhett genuinely tried to reconcile evolution and Christianity, yet he still deconstructed. Now things are reaching a critical turning point. In this next clip, Rhett
Really? In this
what is
next
it? If
clip,
it's not
we're
evolution,
finally going to get to the point. We're 12 minutes in. You promised it was right here. Here's it. Here, over here, over here. And now we're 18 minutes in and you still haven't said anything.
Is it? In this next clip, Rhett explicitly lays out the real reason.
Do you understand how you're a sophist? Do you understand how you're a grifter? Like, how can you not see? Get a mirror, look at yourself. Watch these videos. You have an editing team? Fire them or give them a vacation and watch your videos back. Learn. Self-examine. Not with Bayesian analysis, but with your own eyes, your own ears, and your own mind. Think for yourself and look at what you're doing and what you're saying. See the hypocrite that is you, not the hypocrite that is I, or B.S. Lewis. We all have a stick in our eye. You, my friend, have a log, and you're not looking at it.
That he left Christianity. Listen closely to his exact words, because this insight can help protect you from making the exact same mistake.
She knew what
This insight will keep you from hell. What insight?
Realized two things that profoundly shook him. One, he could be wrong about something deeply fundamental. And then two, the trusted Christian authority figures in his life could also be fundamentally wrong. Now, if Rhett thought that was unsettling, I've got some really bad news for you guys. The situation is actually a lot worse than he describes. Not only can our favorite authority figures be wrong, is true. Think about it. The Bible...
Who's he talking to? Babies? How's this guy more popular than me? Seriously. I'm not saying I should be popular. I'm saying he shouldn't be popular either. This is terrible. All right, we're done with him. We're done with him. Let's do a little touch of religion for breakfast just to wash the grossness out of our mouth. And then let's go to unfound cause, and we'll pick something else after that.
If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. Wait, YouTube, before you demonetize me, this is not a call to violence. I'm literally quoting a famous Buddhist monk, Linji. The idea he's getting at is that when embarking on the path to awakening, people may find themselves drawn to charismatic teachers who have walked the path before them, hoping that these teachers will hold the key to enlightenment. We might become attached to certain teachings, believing that if we understand them intellectually, we'll finally get it. But when
By the way, the anti-crazy dude from wherever trying to get people to believe that he's the Muad'Dib, this guy just did a better debunking than Karen Bentuzzi did by just quoting a Buddhist monk. It's almost as if Cameron knew anything outside of Christianity. He'd have reference points and he could make better arguments. Nah, let's not do that.
Progress, we realize that true wisdom doesn't come from outside ourselves. The capacity for awakening is within us, our very own Buddha nature. Master Linji would argue that clinging to external sources can obscure this truth, and so killing the Buddha means letting go of attachments, even attachments to our most dear teachings and teachers, our most dear conceptions and preconceptions. And when you think you finally got it, that's precisely when you should stop and engage in critical self-reflection. So in a sense, when we kill the Buddha, we become the Buddha ourselves, not in some grandiose or ego-driven way, but in a humble recognition of one's inherent capacity for awakeness. This is a fundamental teaching of Zen Buddhism. Now, Zen has made its way into our everyday vocabulary, but a lot of us don't really get what it means. It often evokes exotic and mystical stereotypes, the wise old sage living off the mountains. Or we think of it as just meaning super chill, like I'm feeling so Zen right now. But what is Zen Buddhism really? At its core, Zen is a lineage within Mahayana Buddhism and a path of meditation, a way of directly experiencing the truth about oneself and the world around us that stretches back to the mind of the Buddha himself. Zen teaches to embrace one's true Buddha nature, and that a path to liberation can be found within each person, not in the heavens, not in temples, and not in sacred scriptures. According to legend, Zen traces its roots back to the Buddha and one of his most famous sermons, the Flower Sermon. Well, calling it a sermon might be a bit of a stretch. In Chinese, it's called Nianhua Weixia, holding up a flower and smiling subtly. Guess what happens? Well, spoiler alert, the Buddha assembles his disciples, holds up a flower, and smiles subtly. The other disciples are confused? What's going on here? Only the great monk Mahakashyapa understands and smiles back, recognizing the profound meaning of this silent sermon. With this wordless exchange, the Buddha is said to have transmitted the essence of his teachings, the first to receive what's called Ishin Chuanshin, or mind-to-mind transmission. Thus, the Buddha planted the seed in the mind of the one who goes down in Zen tradition as the first Zen patriarch. Now, that's the legendary origin story. For the somewhat more historical origin story, let's fast forward to China in the 500 CE, when a lineage of Mahayana Buddhism started to emerge called Chan Buddhism. Chan went on to flourish across East Asia, becoming known as Son in Korea, Tin in Vietnam, and Zen in Japan. Technically, these all refer to the same lineage of practice, but Zen is the most popular word and thus is used most often in intro textbooks and intro YouTube video titles. The word Chan derives from the Sanskrit dhyana, sometimes simply translated as meditation, though it refers to deeper levels of meditative absorption, as well as some of the heavens in Buddhist cosmology. Like if you die in a dhyana state, you'll be reborn in one of those heavens, and as we'll see later, meditative practices are central to Zen. Tradition holds that Chan Buddhism was founded by a semi-legendary Indian monk named Bodhidharma. He purportedly showed up at the Shaolin Monastery sometime in the late 400s and early 500s CE. Yeah, I'm talking about that Shaolin Monastery, later made famous by Kung Fu. He brought along with him teachings that became...
My ex-wife / my current wife was born just outside of the Shaolin Temple. I think it's a 1 hour walk, 2 hour walks, 2 hour walks, 2 hour walk. But yeah, the next time I visit her, we plan on going to her village, childhood village, because I want to see the Shaolin Temple.
Became the cornerstone of Zen Buddhism, which revolved around the direct realization of one's own Buddha nature through meditation. These teachings show up in a short text called the Treatise on the Two Entrances and Four Practices, traditionally attributed to Bodhidharma and dating to the late 500s CE. Now, scholars call this a proto-Chan text, meaning it doesn't have all of the features of fully developed Chan Buddhism, but the seeds are clearly there. It outlines two complementary pathways to awakening, which it calls entrances, the entrance of principle and the entrance of practice. The entrance of practice focuses on daily behavior and offers 4 steps. Accept all suffering as the fruition of past transgressions without complaint.
Correct.
Acceptance of circumstances, to remain unmoved even by good fortune, be without craving, and practice in accordance with the Dharma to eradicate
This is very hard.
wrong thoughts without practicing. The entrance of principle, meanwhile, outlines the idea of Buddha nature. One must have a profound faith in the fact that one and the same true nature is possessed by all sentient beings, both ordinary and enlightened, and that this true nature is only covered...
I dated a Buddhist. This is back when I was in high school and when I was in college. I dated 2 Buddhists. Interesting. Anyway, it didn't really catch me as a religion. It really wasn't for me. But it was interesting.
Covered up and made imperceptible by false sense impressions. The treatise's central claim that all beings possess an inherent potential to achieve Buddhahood became foundational for later Chan thought. The scholar John McRae writes that this text encapsulates the doctrinal nucleus of much, if not all, later Chan theory and ideology. Now, Buddha nature was an extremely important concept in all of Chinese Buddhism, known as Fuoxing. Chinese Buddhists developed the idea of Buddha nature to explain how enlightenment is even possible if someone has accumulated a ton of bad karma over potentially countless lifetimes. Basically, according to the idea, everyone has an inherent potential for awakening, like a seed waiting to sprout. Buddhists actually likened it to a garba, or a womb or fetus waiting to develop. This potential exists alongside our karmic baggage, which are both stored in a storehouse consciousness, or alaya vijnana. So even though we make mistakes, the capacity for awakening remains intact. Karmic seeds that come to fruition. Zen texts often describe this using the metaphor of a mirror. The Chinese master Huineng writes, "The mind is the Bodhi tree. The body is the mirror stand. The mirror is originally clean and pure. Where can dust stain it?" In other words, our true nature is always present and unblemished, perfectly clear, reflecting everything without distortion or attachment, if only we can learn to see it. For Chan Buddhists, this idea was central, and they argue that it's not about...
I think the biggest problem with Buddhism is reincarnation. I think that's the biggest problem. I think if you got rid of reincarnation, whether it's in Buddhism or in Hinduism, I think those religions become much more appealing to the, let's call it developed mind or Western mind or however you want to put it. But the modern understanding of things, and I mean this also in Eastern countries. Current Eastern countries are very Western, and that kind of concrete materialistic mindset really hurts the idea of reincarnation. So I think the biggest weakness in approaching Buddhism and Hinduism is the idea of reincarnation. I think that's the biggest leap. Because you have to believe there's a soul. And a lot of people don't believe in a soul anymore. Then you have to believe that it gets reincarnated. Then you got to ask, well, where do all the new souls come from? You know, like there's just a lot. Woo! I have these books. I have that book. I have that book. I have these books. I have those books. I don't recognize these. I might have that one. I definitely have that one. I definitely have that one. I definitely have these. That is so cool. My library's there. Oh, I should have put it here, and then it would be.
about getting enlightened. It's about demonstrating the enlightenment that's already within you. You don't have to go out and find your Buddha nature. You just have to stop being ignorant of it, distracted by false impressions, habits, and all that mental noise. So how do we dispel ignorance of our true Buddha nature? You might think, well, go read a book. Throw yourself into the study of the greatest Buddhist texts. Memorize the doctrines taught by the greatest Zen masters.
The way that can be read is not the true way.
Go get your PhD in Zen Buddhism. Then, only then, can you dispel your ignorance. But Zen complicates that idea. Here we turn to another key Zen teaching. Zen is a special transmission outside the scriptures, not relying on words and letters, pointing directly to the human mind, seeing into one's true nature, and becoming a Buddha. This is a saying attributed to Bodhidharma that became popular during the Song dynasty in China, and it basically means that realizing one's true Buddha nature does not rely on understanding established doctrines or texts.
Okay,
it involves direct...
We'll get there. Let's go. Let's find something good. I wanted to watch a little bit of this. These are my homies.
Obviously, I don't actually think anybody...
They completely disagree with me, but I still watch them every week. I think they lost one of their members because they didn't get popular.
Soul thought the cleaning, like the actual physical cleaning, was what saved you, but I think he is referring to the removal of dirt from the body, i.e. the physical act. The physical act of baptism is not what saved you. But, says Peter, but the pledge of a clear conscience towards God, it saves you by the
I disagree. I think it's the baptism.
Jesus Christ, who has gone into heaven and is at God's right hand, the angels, authorities, powers, and submission to him. So Peter is advocating here that the act, the ritual act, the physical act, which is what, when you baptize a baby, that's all you have, right? Because the baby doesn't have the other side of this. He doesn't have the pledge of clear conscience towards God. The physical act does nothing to save you. It is not the saving thing. You do it because it's part of the baptismal ritual, but the physical act is not what saves you. It is the pledge of a clear conscience towards God. So if you don't have that, you're baptizing a baby, or you're baptizing somebody who doesn't have who's not pledging, right? Who's faking it. They did not pledge a clear conscience towards God. They are not saved by baptism. And baptism is only saving you through the resurrection, by the resurrection of Jesus Christ. It's nothing to do with the ritual. The ritual is a symbol of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And so we do it in honor of the fact that Christ died, rose again, is going to raise us again. But it is the pledge of a clear conscience. It's the symbol that it represents that you're pledging to do something towards God. It is not the physical act. So this right here is straight biblical evidence for why we baptize.
I really like this chick. I think she's going places. I think she's already popular than me, but whatever. That's fine.
And put my name there forever. My eyes and my heart will be there for all time. Wow. God certainly...
I thought she was a Protestant. I don't know if maybe she was a Protestant and then became a Catholic. I'm not sure. But whatever. She does Catholic stuff now. She's really cool.
Oppose the religious use of statues and sacred images in places of worship. He blesses it. Similarly, in Ezekiel, a description is given of graven images in the idealized temple he was shown in a vision. On the walls roundabout in the inner room and on the nave were carved likenesses of cherubim. God tells Moses during a plague of serpents that was sent to punish the Israelites during the Exodus, make a statue of a fiery serpent and set it on a pole, and everyone who is bitten, when he sees it, shall live. So Moses made a bronze serpent and set it on a pole. And if a serpent bit any man, he would look at the bronze serpent and live. This passage here, I think, serves best to properly distinguish idol worship. God commands a graven image to be made.
I'll admit, her accent goes a long way to me enjoying her content a little bit more, but still.
The Israelites had to look upon this bronze statue of a serpent in order to be healed by God. This shows that statues can be used ritually and not merely as religious decoration. It is by the people's interaction with the statue, i.e. looking at it, that they would be healed by God. And it was only when the people started worshipping the bronze serpent as some kind of snake god, whom they named Nehushtan, King Hezekiah destroyed it. So God commanded its making and ritual use. The people benefited from this.
If you've watched any of my Lent videos that I posted on this channel, then you know that I had mentioned how I felt like God was asking me to do something that was very easy and simple for Lent this year. Yet now Lent is over and I feel like I couldn't even accomplish this simple thing and I wasted my Lent away. And the reason why I felt like I wasted my Lent was because I felt like I really just didn't try this year. I just wasn't taking it seriously like I should have been. And the irony here is, you know, I even did a follow-up video about like the common misconceptions about Lent. And one of the key things that I talked about in that video is how you don't want to beat yourself up if you fall or, you know, if you're failing in your Lenten promises. which is great advice for a lot of people, but I just felt like I was leaning too much into it. And eventually it brought me to a place where I stopped trying altogether. I was really neglecting my Lenten commitments. That's because when temptation came, I didn't even really try to fight back. And after a few days of that, I was really convicted by the fact that I wasn't trying at all and that I was basically
And does that then verify the root of the faith, or does that verify all the conclusions of the faith?
I'm so glad you brought up pragmatism.
Yes. And yeah, we would just say it's pragmatism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of it is pragmatism, but a lot of it is woo-woo, wiggity whack stuff. Okay, we're talking about, I mean, we'll get into like...
I love that a Christian is calling things woo-woo and wiggity whack stuff. The irony. Oh, all the atheists everywhere salivate.
Defining the two. But I mean, I read a lot of like really boring, dusty history books, New Thought history books, and testimonials and books that I grew up with, because this goes back to
15 more minutes and we're going to call it a night. So we'll finish off with Ruslan.
You grew up in this whole like New Age, New Thought insanity. Yeah.
And I thought it was New Age, but I didn't know there was words for these things. It just sounded Christian. It looked Christian. It looked really cool. I mean, I'm talking about spiritual experiences, really interesting things happening in my childhood that I didn't have an explanation for.
Tux, how you doing, my friend?
And I got, I liked that stuff. I got attracted to that. And I thought, you know, more spiritual experiences equals, hey, you're favored more in some sort of spiritual realm. And Jesus was an example of this. And if Jesus could do it, so could you, and some, right? So there's lots of Christianese. That's not New Age, though. Sometimes it can overlap. But one of the books that I read in my research, the entire thing, all this book is testimonials of people who have been healed and gotten wealth through their right thinking. They're not Christians. It's a New Thought book. And so, yeah, before we got on, this is where,
So I would say
that's what we were talking about.
One of two things. One, it is possible that the demons or the Elohims of like Michael Heiser's talking about the Elohims. I'm sure you sat with some of this stuff. So there's these demonic, angelic, weird forces called Elohims.
You know, all that woo-woo stuff that we don't believe in, but you know, the demons that are real are influencing us to believe in the fake woo-woo stuff that we don't believe in. The demons that are real are making you believe in woo-woo, in fake, in you know, magic, and spirits and ghosts. The demons. Irony. It's a thing, not just a board. Like an irony board.
And I think it's possible that those have powers, enough power to give people stuff. I think that's one possibility. Another possibility is that the God of Yahweh threw him a bone because he's a good God. Like that's possible. Someone could have been healed because they're a good God. In terms of the wealth aspect, this is where I would say the idea of like...
By the way, this guy's gotten in trouble for being also, and he's admitted it over and over again, this is not a religious channel for him. It's actually a for-profit channel. He's doing this for profit, not for religious reasons.
Manifestation, I think it's not.
Everything he's saying is suspect.
Sense,
and
right?
for
Like, I don't think
audience
my thoughts
share,
become things.
audience capture.
I do think if I adjust my thinking and my paradigm...
Well, that's power positive thinking. Welcome to bullshit world.
From scarcity to gratitude, that if I move from wanting to control everything to being okay with...
If I simply agree with, I was going to say Bill Paxton, with Jordan Peterson, I'm not doing power positive thinking. I'm simply changing my mindset.
The universe or whatever woo-woo term we're going to use. I do think that those aspects can help someone become the type of person to build and start something.
This is why I don't like Protestants.
To make them more wealthy, right?
Yes.
So I mean, there's something happening in the practical, in the real practical things, but they're attaching it to like, well, I thought this thing, I made a vision board, and then voila, now I'm a millionaire. And it's like, no. It's not the vision board. It's not your thoughts. It's you thought it, and then you did it. You went and had a plan, and you built it out, and you did the thing that you thought about. And that's why there was movement. That's
they
why
would
the
disagree.
needle moved.
New Thought would adamantly disagree.
They
with
would
that.
say it's just their thoughts.
New Thought builds on the idea of your thoughts. It's funny you say thoughts becoming things. That's actually a old age New Thought term. That is new thought in a 3 words. Thoughts are things, because your thoughts are powerful and can actually create your reality. And it has a lot to do. It's more than it's what you, I'm glad you said it though, because it's more than just thinking positive. To them, it's in this movement anyway. It's not a religion. It's a philosophy of thinking, and it builds an idealism, which is this way of understanding epistemology, what's true. And so if what's true is something like the material world is a response to our thoughts and our mind. And there's a spiritual realm, which is really the...
But here's the problem, Melissa. Our brains are trapped in a wet room with no way of sensing anything. And then they turn the flashes of information coming from your eye into something that's understandable. And what you see and I see isn't exactly the same. And so therefore the perception of reality is slightly different for every person. But we know there's a real reality out there because we're assuming that what we're perceiving from other people is real. But it's possible none of us actually understand each other. By the way, that's called philosophy.
The true, this is where it gets really Gnostic. But that's like the truest part of you. That's the truest part of everything. So if there's something wrong in the physical realm, you bring it forth from the spiritual realm, and you do that.
You mean ultimate reality, which is something that has been used to talk about God and religion from the beginning of Christianity, and even from parts and aspects of, Judaism, Buddhism, Taoism, because it's a theological and philosophical thought. Okay.
Your thoughts, words, and feelings. You with your spoken word.
Thoughts, words, and feelings.
Yes.
Okay.
There's power in that.
Yeah. Oprah Winfrey's an asshole who believes nonsense and spreads nonsense and to women, and it's like an infection, like a mind virus, like a mimetic mind virus spreads and then infects men because men want to impress the women. And so everybody starts believing that you can actually get sick and catch a cold from having the air condition too low instead of understanding its germ transmission. But no, let's go with your thing. Yeah.
And I'll do one more. The one thing about New Thought, a big thing about it is it misuses not only scripture in Christian terms, but it misuses science. Okay, so think of this. Have you ever seen, like, on Instagram or on TikTok, people maybe saying, hey, if you the vibrational frequencies of your words, if you say it like this, or if you listen to music on this frequency, the vibrations and that go out into your cells will actually change and heal you. Or maybe there's a certain vibration in this oil, this whatever it is, your words can actually physically react to the other frequencies and vibrations around you and create, and by the way, it's quantum mechanics backs this up. So does neuroscience.
Earth is tuned to 4 hertz and yeah.
And that kind of gets mixed in with a lot of new age stuff.
Yes.
But New Thought is really known for misusing neuroscience, quantum mechanics. It can get really wiggity whack.
Yeah.
But that's how they back it up. They say it's scriptural and scientific.
Yeah. So
Yes, my 75-inch TV is real to me. To her, she will never see my 75-inch screen. If she stopped by, I will only show her my 60-inch TV. I love that.
it's interesting because I do think, like, thinking positively can help.
Practically.
I think the flip side to that is, like, I think of people, and this is not an endorsement or saying that he has the...
Tux, just to let you know, I went back into the business a month and a half ago, and in 1 month, I made the exact same amount of money that I made the whole year working my non-corporate job, my salary job, and my bonus money, my spending cash was the exact same amount as my paycheck. For a month. From the previous, So I'm back in the business, buddy. Oh yeah, it's good though to be back. I'm very grateful. I'm happy. My bosses moved to a different dealership, and when I called them, they said just start. They didn't. I went by. They didn't even interview me. We had a conversation, and they're like, "You start tomorrow." And I'm like, "Well, let me give them 2 weeks." I give them 2 weeks, and then I've been rolling.
Standard, and I think
on the grind.
Slid into some of this stuff, but he also contrasts this by the idea
Too many
of
bells
staying
to bells.
paranoid. So Patrick Bet-David, who built an MLM, also is big on like stay paranoid.
I've heard of this guy.
Yeah. He runs Valuetainment and he.
It's okay. I'll put this in my Ruslan Exposed video.
Yeah, it'd be great. So he talks about you got to think positive, but you also got to be paranoid. So I think there's people who become successful not because they're thinking positive, because they're paranoid.
Today was crap for me too, buddy. Today was crap for me too. I only got one deal done, and it was a favor for someone else because they were busy with another customer. Today was a bad day for me. I think I worked 5 total. Bad day. Did you have any ups?
And they're actually operating from this like hardwiring of like everything in my life may collapse if I don't keep performing and doing X, Y, and Z. And
what
that
does he mean by paranoid? That like you have to.
Yeah, like your competition in business and your enemies.
I see.
They're working right now and you're relaxing. Like you better work. You better grind harder. Like it's almost that paradigm. Like
have you seen my video on MLMs? Or did you even know I made one?
No, I don't think I'm.
It's interesting you mentioned MLMs and him.
Yeah.
A few people have brought him up and I never heard of him before. But my whole point with MLMs is, what is it? Is it a pyramid scheme? All these things, but also. The part that I wanted to jump into is why all of them have New Thought books for training.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's all about the mindset, the mind power. And a lot of them, like Power of Positive Thinking, Norman Vincent Peale. You have Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon, he was a scammer, right?
Oh my word. Have you seen my video on him?
I have seen a bunch of videos. I don't know if I've seen your videos.
Yeah. That guy was a dirtbag.
He like made it all up basically, right? Like there was like he had all these like interviews with these high profile people.
Yeah,
and,
no.
None of that stuff was true.
No.
Or it doesn't look like it was true. It doesn't like he ever came into contact with Carnegie.
Here's what he did. Okay. Here's what I think Napoleon Hill did. Have you ever like met somebody
5 more minutes, guys.
from a distance that's just super famous? Okay. Then take that story, right? So maybe you see somebody from far, you're like, oh, I got a picture, and you say you exaggerate that story.
Yeah.
Into we're best friends now. We call each
Tucks,
other every day. And we all know on some level, maybe
I'm feeling that today. That's add 2 more deals in there, and that's exactly how my day went.
Somebody that's done that, maybe we've done it. Napoleon Hill was notorious for this, and he was an opportunist in that regard. I went into my deep dive on him, not realizing just how scammy he was. But I didn't really want to go over all of that in the video, but I had to. But yes, his book, his beliefs, he was like a part of a metaphysical cult there for.
I wonder what you would think of Grant Cardone, or what you would think of Jeffrey Gittimore. I don't know. I don't think she would like the sales stuff.
For a while, they used his book as one of the religious texts for it, and it was a New Thought cult that used it. But that book is so problematic because a lot of Christians read it, but they don't realize that there's this
Brian Tracy
belief system, this New Thought beliefs that are underneath everything. That's not everything, but a lot of things that are being said. So you take the business advice, and it's just what you were saying with thinking positive. You have this good stuff that's kind of being sold along with it, this spiritual stuff, and you kind of can't separate the two at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote.
Oh, this is handy. Look at this.
Yeah. Where the heck is the book? Oh my gosh, why did I
Think and Grow Rich. Yeah.
Think and Grow Rich, which was. I mean, Napoleon, this was huge. So a little bit about my background. People may not know this. Yeah, this right here.
Were you in an MLM?
I was in an MLM. Yeah. So in 2023, some of my friends.
This was recent?
In 2003. Gosh, what about that?
The Stone Age.
Ruslan comes out as an MLMer. That would get some videos made.
It's just great. I'm getting stuff from my exposed video. Thanks.
So in 2003, I was about to turn 18, and some of my friends got into doing prepaid legal. I think it's changed to Legal Shield.
Oh, yeah.
Remember this?
I've heard of this.
$30 a month gets you access to some legal services. So if you get pulled over, if you need to fix a ticket, it was actually a good idea. Like a lawyer, almost like access to a lawyer or a legal aid on retainer, basically. Most people don't use it. But if you need a contract reviewed, if you need a fix-a ticket dealt with, all these sorts of things. And so, yeah, my buddy, it was actually kind of weird. One of my really good friends who's doing really well in media now, like he's doing like TV shows, he ends up recruiting me on the day I turned 18. And I started doing these Legal Shield, or they called prepaid legal at the time. And I actually made it up to be a manager. Within 6 months, I was a manager.
I can totally see you being good in an MLM.
And I read some of this stuff. Like I remember...
Well, at least she's admitting that he's a con. That he has confidence and con man like salesman like skills. Hey, I'm a salesman. I'm not gonna shit on it. I get frustrated with Ruslan, plenty. But let me give one reason why I like Ruslan more than I like Cameron. Is Ruslan doesn't lie about it. Now, of course, he had his exposed video, like the one from way back in the day, where he got busted for doing this kind of grifty shit. But since then, he's owned it. He doesn't hide it. And he makes exposed videos on himself where he's like, hey, just a reminder, this is out there. This is what I'm doing. I'm not doing this for religious reasons. Yes, I want you to be Christian, but I'm doing it to make money. I really appreciate that. I think this is the reason why I'm not subscribed to Cameron anymore and I'm still subscribed to Ruslan. I do still, like I said, I look up Capturing Christianity every once in a while. I watch every once in a while. I still have him on Twitter for some reason. But Ruslan, I respect. I don't like what he says, but at least I respect his game. At least he's being honest about not being honest. With Cameron's either delusional or he's a sophist, legitimately. With Ruslan, he doesn't know shit, but he's not claiming to know shit. So, fuck it. If he makes money, good for him. He has more charisma than I do.
I remember Robert Kiyosaki, right? Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yes.
I remember I listened to Power of Positive Thinking, and I remember reading some of this stuff. And to me, I just came to the conclusion of
and I mean that literally. I don't like most of the stuff that Ruslan says. I don't think he's a high intellectual on most of these things. I don't think he's deep into theology, even though he seems to present himself as if he is. Or if he is, he doesn't present that deepness on his show. But he's honest that he's doing it for profit. And I respect that. Cameron is dishonest. Maybe he's lying to himself. I don't know. But in lying to himself, he's misleading his audience, and it's not good. So, like I said, even though they're both kind of on the same level, I respect Ruslan. I don't really respect what Cameron's doing.
I was making music at the time, and I just said, this is taking a lot of time, and it's asking me to recruit my friends and family, which feels icky.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to ask my friends and family to do anything, I'm going to ask them to come to my rap show for my album release party and sell them a ticket for that before I ask them to go to this Monday night rah-rah thing about how you can become a millionaire through selling prepaid legal. It just didn't make sense to me. It's no, I don't like this. This feels weird,
Yeah, but it's motivational speaking. This stuff has its place.
But there was some aspects of it that around mindset and some aspects principles around finances that I think were valuable.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of this your thoughts are things, vibrations, emotions, and I'm like, wait. This is there's a line
minutes.
we're crossing of hey, we can glean practical wisdom from the Proverbs that I think are helpful to building something versus
but when people start perverting the Bible to a for-profit book, and I don't mean that as in publishers making money off of books. I mean as in they're using it as a money-making manual, and they're editing out all the stuff about charity. They're editing out all the stuff about the poor. It's it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven. Give to the poor, that kind of stuff. They edit all that stuff out, and it just becomes about making profit and making money. Yeah, I think Dave Ramsey's a douchebag. I think Cameron Bertuzzi's a grifter. I think Ruslan is, a for-profit dude. And again, Ramsey at least admits it. He's all about money. Ruslan at least admits it. He's doing it for the cash. Cameron doesn't. And that's the hypocrisy of Cameron Bertuzzi. That's why I don't like his shit. That's why his shit stinks really bad to me. Ruslan, yeah, he's covered in turds, but there's some popery around him. You know what I mean? There's some popery. So yeah, it's a shame. It's a real shame that Cameron is Cameron. It really is. I'm hoping he becomes fully and completely converted and becomes a true Catholic and starts taking vows of poverty and chastity and humility and gets rid of all this shit. I really do. I really do. I want him to be a good Catholic. I want him to get to heaven. And the way that he's going right now, he's not doing a good thing, man. He's hurting a lot of people and he's hurting himself.
we're really following like a false paradigm that doesn't even line up with anything remotely in the Christian worldview.
And this is my big problem with MLMs is that you can go and do whatever you want with whatever your time. But my issue is that spiritual aspect gets into a lot of Christian spaces.
My issue with MLMs is that it rips off poor people. I don't care about the spiritual aspect of it. I care that they're hurting poor people and making poor people more poor. That's the problem with prosperity gospel. Prosperity gospel, there's nothing wrong with, hey, I'm going to invest. I'm going to put aside. I'm going to save money. I'm going to sacrifice for the future. There's nothing wrong with any of that. It's that they're stealing from poor people and making poor people and stupid people more poor and more stupid. They're hurting the people they're claiming to help and flying big jets in the meantime. That's the problem with prosperity gospel. That's the problem with the for-profit charity, which is, again, a problem with Ruslan. The for-profit charity is for profit. Money becomes your God, becomes your king, becomes your drive, becomes your goal. Cameron, you're after money. You're not after saving souls. That's the problem. You're saying you're doing one thing, but in actuality, you're doing another. This channel is dedicated to pissing people like you off, Cameron. There's no hypocrisy here. I'm not trying to be a good Christian on this channel. I'm an asshole. But hot dog it, I'm going to be the best asshole I can be. And I care about people. And I care about every single one of my viewers. And I care about every single one of my online friends. Whether it's Kip Davis, whether it's Tux, whether it's B.S. Lewis. I care about them and I care about their success. And when they're having an issue on their channel, I try to help them out because I care. Maybe I'll never meet them in real life. Maybe I'll never know their real name. Doesn't matter. They matter to me. Your viewers don't matter to you, Cameron. Their donations do. You understand that? Melissa Doherty might be a true believer. Good for her. I know Ruslan isn't. Ruslan's in it for the money. And there's nothing wrong with being in something for the money. I'm a professional salesman. Man. I'm in it for the money. But this channel, there ain't no money being made. This is purely what I believe. I really am a Catholic. I really am a Christian. I really am a professional philosopher. I really am a writer. I really have books that I read. I really have books that I wrote. I've read some books too, I'm pretty sure. But I've written books. That's all real. This is the real me. This is not posing. This is not me bragging. I read these things. That's why when I go on a little spasm, whatever you want to call it, tism, and I get into one of these things, I'll spend 30 minutes to an hour describing a book instead of talking about whatever we're talking about. Because this shit matters to me. I'm passionate about it. I'm currently dissecting, comparing, and contrasting the SBL Bible and the Ignatius Study Bible. That series might never come out. I'm doing the work for something that might never happen, and nobody might even watch if it does come out. But I guarantee you I'm doing it. There's a lot to respect about Melissa. What do we got over here? Catholics, anti-Christian, and your saints. Ain't Christian and your saints are demon. I can't see. And your saints are, yeah, there you go. Because the Bible tells her so.
Because a lot of MLMs
you should really watch, I know you debunk her, but you should really watch the one that I just recommended. Not the Journey to Holiness person, but the something Christian. She's really good and she talks about this stuff all the time. Honestly, she's basically me if I was a chick, which means that if I was a chick, this channel would be more popular.
A lot of Christian terminology. Did you come across that? Like, did they?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Oh, shoot, guys, I'm
Christians
way
that got
too
me.
late and I got to sleep. I got bike riding. I got mountain bike riding in the morning. Real quick. What is a sophist? A sophist is someone who does philosophy for money and doesn't actually have a true belief. What is a grifter? A grifter is someone who is only saying what is popular to draw an audience. They're not talking about what they truly believe, and their principles change to keep their audience with them. They're not doing things authentically. They're doing them inauthentically. Is Ruslan a grifter? Probably. Is Ruslan inauthentic? No, he 100% loves money. Is Melissa Dorothy a grifter? I don't think so. Is she authentic? I think she is. I think Melissa Dorothy really believes. Does that mean she's right? No. Cameron Bertuzzi, believe it or not, for all the shit I've said about Cameron Bertuzzi, what he's saying is correct. I'm a Catholic. I believe he's right. But what he's doing is wrong. So his beliefs are right, but his actions are wrong. And guess what that's called? Protestantism. Once saved, only saved. You're wicked, you're evil, blah, blah, blah. In Christianity, in true Christianity, we're trying to be good. We're trying to work out our salvation with trembling and gnashing of teeth and fear. We're trying to be better people. Not just to get to heaven, but because we actually want to be decent human beings. That's Catholicism. That's orthodoxy. We're working out our salvation with works. We're working out our salvation with good works, with trembling and fear. Cameron, you're doing it wrong. Ruslan is doing it wrong. Melissa Doherty might be doing it right. And again, this is not a Christian channel. I'm not claiming to be a Christian channel. I'm not claiming to be a good example. That's not what I'm doing. That's not what this channel does. We do anti-apologetics. We do philosophy. We do history. Okay? But Cameron, you're claiming to be a good Christian. You're claiming to be a Catholic. And you're claiming to speak the truth about Christianity when you don't know anything. You shouldn't be doing this. Yeah, maybe in the future you'll get there. But you're not there yet. Right now, you're no better than Ruslan. And again, I respect Ruslan because at least he's honest about being dishonest. You are not. I think that's it. I think that's the show. I hope I insulted some people that are watching, and I hope other people love me for it. BS, I love you, buddy. Thomas, I love you. Tux, I love you. Anyone else watching, thank you so much for watching. Have a great night. Remember, God loves you. God forgives you. So, love everyone. Love your enemy. Love your family. Love yourself and love God above all. And remember that God really does forgive you. So, forgive everyone for everything. Forgive your enemies. Forgive your family. Forgive yourself. God bless. I love you all. Good night. Here comes the music.
Yeah, I will always be a warrior. You can't stop me, you can't stop me now. Yeah, I will always be a warrior. You can't lock me, you can't lock me down. I will not lay down my arms. Ready to be covered in scars. 'Cause I will always be a warrior. Late nights, get lost, hard work, the cost. Can't quit, can't stop. This world all cut off. Don't have time to waste, not now. Need to find a way to get